So I'm teaching the Reformation today, and I'm talking about Johann Tetzel and the sale of indulgences and all that kind of stuff, coin and coffer, rings, a soul from Purgatory Springs. And I have a problem. My students don't know what purgatory is, okay? I'm like, do y'all know what purgatory is? And they're like, is it some kind of place between heaven and hell or something like that? You know, kind of like Jesus didn't know where to put you. It's like, okay, some people are easy. It's like sheep, goat, sheep, goat, sheep, goat. You know, Hitler, Stalin, goat, Mother Teresa, sheep. But then you come across these tough cases, and it's like, wait, what's that? And, you know, found out today from the biology teacher, confirmed it, so did Wikipedia. You can make some kind of hybrid sheep-goat. It's called a geep, like, bah! I actually don't even know what sound it makes, but this is what it looks like. And I was like, whoa, part sheep, part goat, too cool. But anyway, that is not what purgatory is. What purgatory is a place of purging. Purgatory, you can think of purgatory. What you're having done to you is, the thing is, if you are a Christian, then you are going to go to heaven if you've received the sacraments of the church and all of that kind of stuff.
I'm going to heaven, Lieutenant Dan.
If you're not a Christian, you're going to hell. So the thing is, your ultimate destination is either heaven or hell. But the problem is that while you may be a Christian, you are also a sinner. And a sinner can't be in the presence of God. God can't be around sin or anything like that. So what you're looking at here is, we need a place where we can put you until you are ready to be in the presence of God. We got to purge all that sin out. All right. Purgatory is described in the Middle Ages as some kind of place of really bad suffering. Like if you look here at this picture, you see people going through the fire bath and all that kind of stuff. And it's like you get in there. Some people need to be in there longer than others. Thankfully, at the end, they'll throw you in a bunch of water, let you cool off from whatever like 5th degree burns you have or something like that. But not a pleasant place to be, but it's for your own good. Kind of like when your parents punish you or something like that, right? Hurts me more than it hurts you. It's for your own good, all of that kind of stuff, yada, 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 right. But really, when I think about purgatory, and the way I explain it is, purgatory is like the dentist, all right? And this is where you go into the dentist office. Now, my dentist is awesome, doesn't keep me waiting. I have a great time over there all the time. So I don't want my dentist, if he's watching, to think I'm talking bad about him. But I've been to a lot of dentist offices, and sometimes you go in there, and you got to fill out paperwork. That's bad, all right? And you got to sit in the waiting room. You got to listen to some kid cry or something like that. But ultimately, your destination is the dentist, and you get in the dentist chair. Then, scrape. Then it's like some people, it's like, okay, scrape, and you're okay. Time to go. Now, some people, they're like, oh, we've got a little problem. You know what? Do you have a couple minutes? Can I fix that? All right, great. And then you got a little bitty filling. Now, sometimes it's like, you're going to have to come back next Thursday. And you're like, great, okay? But even the person that's going to come back next Thursday is going to come out with a clean bill of health. That everybody that enters the dentist office is, at some point or another, going to come out with clean teeth and cavity-free teeth. So it's just a matter of how long it's going to take you to get there. And that's why people spend various points of times in purgatory and all that kind of stuff. So remember that purgatory is like the dentist, and everybody is eventually going to go to heaven. Think of it as a waiting room for heaven. I hope I cleared that up for those of you who didn't understand purgatory. If you liked what you saw, subscribe. Check out my website, tomrichey.net, Twitter, Instagram, @TomRichey. I've got somewhere to be, but I'll talk to you soon. Until the next drive. If you're having poke problems, I feel bad for you, son. I've got 95 theses, but transubstantiation ain't one. Now, what is transubstantiation, my students ask? That is an AP Euro problem. I think that a few people don't understand what this is. Let me help you get the joke so you can understand this account that you're all following on Twitter, but probably shouldn't be. Well, transubstantiation, which means trans, which is to change, substantiation, substance. It changes substance. We're talking about the Eucharist here, which is the Lord's Supper, Holy Communion, whatever they call it in your faith. When you take the bread, the wine, the juice, whatever it is, and you do something with it, you consume it together, but people believe different things about it. So Henry VIII here on the logo doesn't necessarily believe in transubstantiation. Transubstantiation is the teaching of the Roman Catholic Church. When Jesus says, take, eat, this is my body, broken for you for the forgiveness of sins, take, drink, this is my blood of the new covenant. He means it. Red letters. Okay, you can look it up. This is Jesus Christ. This is God talking. And he says, this is my body. Okay, so it's transubstantiation. When this bread and wine are blessed, they change substance. This is literal. So this literally becomes the body and blood of Christ, which needs to be honored as such, okay, which is why in Catholic churches often you see people kneeling when the sacrament is being prepared. Transubstantiation, the Catholic Church believes this is literally the body and the blood of Christ. Now, does that mean it necessarily looks like it? Well, no, but Jesus said it is, and that's enough. Now, Martin Luther and others were advocates of doctrines sometimes called consubstantiation, which consubstantiation means with substance or like substance or something like that. That when Jesus said, take, eat, this is my body, he didn't mean it literally. It doesn't literally become his body. This is consubstantiation. But there is a spiritual presence, okay? So why doesn't it literally become that? Well, it is Jesus, but it is spiritual. So Martin Luther believed that there was a spiritual presence, that we should still honor this like it's Jesus, but it is not literal. And Luther is offering this as a compromise position because there are some, like Erlich Zwingli, who say that when Jesus says, take, eat, this is my body, and he's got bread and he's got wine, he was really, it's a metaphor, okay? It's not, I mean, we all know what a metaphor is, that this is representative. He didn't expect anyone to believe that he was being literal. This is symbolic. So those of you who attend Baptist churches, it's held to be a memorial that when Jesus says, this is my body, he means that this is just something to remember him by. That's when you go to a Baptist church, you see, in remembrance of me on the Lord's Supper table. So again, when we're looking at the Eucharist, Holy Communion, the Lord's Supper, whatever you want to call it, there's the Catholic doctrine of transubstantiation. It changes substance. This is my body. There is consubstantiation that believes that Jesus is spiritually present in the bread and the wine. And then there are those like Erlich Zwingli and the radical reformers who believe that it is a memorial, that it is purely symbolic. So next time you look at your favorite Twitter account in preparing for the exam, you'll know what it's talking about. Hopefully you don't have any Pope problems on Wednesday.
Hey there, students. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about indulgences. Now, if you're studying the Protestant Reformation and Martin Luther, of course, you've heard about the sale of indulgences, but I want to go into what is an indulgence in the first place. And this is something that has a deep history in the Catholic faith and also in Christianity in general as we go back to the early church. I'm going to go ahead and shout out to Lex. We've had a few conversations about Catholicism and Catholic guilt, so hope you enjoy this little walk down history lane, if you will. So as far as this goes, let's think about when we use the word indulgence today. We might think about, for example, I might indulge in ice cream or chocolate. These are things that I'm treating myself, right? So if we think about in terms of if I'm eating chocolate all the time, I'm not indulging, I'm just a glutton, right? But every once in a while, it's like, okay, Tom Richey, live a little, have some chocolate, get some ice cream, you deserve it. We think about indulging, and really it goes back to the Latin, which means to free or to have freedom. And so this is something that when I am indulging in ice cream or chocolate or something like that, I'm giving myself a little bit of freedom. And of course, an indulgence is about being freed from your sins. Now, this actually goes back to the early church. There's a practice where this originated was really with the times of persecution in the Roman Empire. If there was a Christian that decided, you know what, I don't want to die, I don't want to get eaten by lions, so I'm going to make a sacrifice to the emperor, and I'm going to get a little piece of paper saying that I made a sacrifice to the emperor, so I don't have to get thrown to the lions. Now, of course, if you were a Christian in the Christian community, that makes you pretty much anathema, okay, because you have denied Jesus. You are no good. And so what happened is that Christian martyrs, the people who had not sacrificed the emperor, when they were about to be martyred, they had the authority to pardon someone. Basically, given that, look, that I am dying for Christ, and so I have the authority to forgive someone who was not as courageous as I am. So these Christian martyrs would give someone what amounted to an indulgence. So with this Christian would have one piece of paper saying that I have made my sacrifice to the emperor, and so I don't have to get thrown to the lions. And then the Christian could also have this piece of paper, the lapsed Christian, that says, hey, there was a martyr that actually pardoned me. So this blood of this martyr could actually wash away my sins. And this ended up becoming something that became associated with the sacrament of penance. Okay, this idea that if you've sinned, there needs to be some kind of counter virtue that will make up for your sin. So, for example, when we think about the idea of penance and going to confession, let's say that you went to confession and you haven't been a very good spouse or friend or son or daughter or something like that. Maybe if you went and confessed that you haven't been obedient to your parents, then your priest may give you a penance, may say that, well, go home and wash the dishes, ask what you can do to help around the house or something like that. You're giving penance, okay? So the idea of a plenary indulgence, now plenary being basically all of your sins go away, okay? If you get a plenary indulgence, that's the really good one, because that's like basically you are sinless, okay? And so this goes to the Crusades. If you went on crusade, if you went to go defend the Holy Land and fight for Jesus and defend the Holy Sepulchre and protect pilgrims, if you would dedicate your life to that, if you were going to go all the way there, and not like we do today on a plane, but a very hard journey, like if somebody was going to go to the Holy Land on crusade, that was a major sacrifice. So with that, the Pope said, you can have a plenary indulgence. All of your sins are washed away. So you think about it, I'm going on crusade and like, so what if I killed a guy? Okay, I mean, it's just, I'm going on crusade now. So all of my sins are forgiven. I mean, I'm going and I'm defending Jerusalem. So that makes up for it, right? So remember that typically, like before the late Middle Ages, an indulgence was something that you actually earned. You have done some sort of good or virtuous deed in order to do that. Now, of course, in the late Middle Ages, what we start to see is the sale of indulgences, these freedoms. Now, this is where we think about our modern definition today of indulging, because there were people such as in Rouen, or, you know, it's just, okay, it's French. It's a written test, people. It's like Rouen or something like that, okay? It's a written test. Somebody tried to show me how to pronounce it, and I looked on the internet, and it's not happening, okay? But there's a cathedral in Normandy that there's the tower of the cathedral. They call it the Butter Tower, okay? The Butter Tower, air quotes, because this was built with money that citizens of the town, they would pay so that they could eat butter during Lent, because used to in Catholicism in the Middle Ages, you weren't supposed to eat any meat or dairy during Lent. So it was like you paid for the privilege of being able to eat butter during Lent. So I'm eating butter, but I paid to do this. And that's when we think about an indulgence, that I'm paying so that I can indulge in this luxury that I'm not supposed to enjoy. So with that, we kind of see those meanings of these words kind of coming together. And then, of course, finally, you see where the Protestant Reformation comes about. And Luther had a problem with this guy, Johann Tetzel, who was going around selling indulgences and offering to shorten people's deceased relatives' time in purgatory. Anytime coin and coffer rings, a soul from purgatory springs, all right? And so Luther thought that this was corrupt, and frankly, it kind of was, right? And so with the Counter-Reformation, the Council of Trent forbade the sale of indulgences, but in the spirit of the Counter-Reformation, which involved a reformation of church practice, but an affirmation of Catholic doctrine, the council said that the Pope still had the authority to issue an indulgence. And actually, I once opened up a Catholic Bible that was printed in the late 19th or early 20th century, maybe about the mid-20th century, actually. And at the beginning of the Bible, it said that if you spend 15 minutes a day reading this Bible, then you will receive an indulgence. Not a plenary indulgence, but basically by reading the Bible, then you are confirming your faith with these good works, and you are shortening whatever suffering that you would otherwise need to do for your sins. That reading the Bible is a sort of penance. So it can still be done today, that indulgences can be given because Catholics believe that the Pope has the authority to forgive sins, but it's not in the sense that somebody can just buy it, okay? So that's done, okay? The butter tower is there. It's a beautiful butter tower, but there will be no more butter towers. So with that, hopefully you've gotten an idea, not just about the sale of indulgences, but what an indulgence actually is. So next time you're indulging in something, you can tell people, this is what an indulgence is. And I'm certainly glad I can help you with that. It's always a pleasure.